And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Revelation 13, verse 16 to 17. You know, guys, there are a couple of verses in the Bible that never used to make sense to me back in the day. I used to be the kind of child growing up. I loved reading Bible stories. I had a bunch of Bible story books from an author called Uncle Arthur, I remember, back in the early 80s. And I also enjoyed reading the Bible. I've always loved the word. And I remember reading in the book of Revelation, and there were some verses that were really odd to me. Talking about the two witnesses and how the whole world looked at the two witnesses, and how the two witnesses were killed, and how the whole world was able to see the two witnesses resurrecting. And I used to ask myself, how is it that the whole world will see these two witnesses? The book of Revelation has this tone of the whole world doing something, the whole world following the beast. And so you can imagine, when I was reading the book of Revelation back in the early 80s, I was still very young, but I would ask myself these questions because we were not really in that tech age like we are in now. I mean, even the television station that I used to watch, it was only one television station compared to now. We are so high up in technology that when I read the Bible now, I can see it just coming to life, and the prophecies are just jumping out of this book. So it is clear to me, in light of all the technological developments that are taking place right now, it's 100% clear to me how things are going to pan out. I believe that we are living in the last of the last days, and Satan's time to reign is drawing nigh. Satan's time to shine, like his hour of power in and on this earth is right around the corner. Satan is the great deceiver. He deceives the whole world, and my country, my beloved country, Kenya, is no exception. It's included right there in the midst of Satan's dark and devilish plans. I tend to believe that there are a few countries, like in the continent of Africa, in the continent of Asia, in South America. I think there are a couple of countries that Satan just kind of points out. They are sort of gates for him and his new world order. And I believe that in Africa, Kenya is one of those countries that the devil would like to use to fulfill his plans. I believe South Africa is right there. I believe that Nigeria is also right there. And so my beloved country, Kenya, as far as I'm concerned, is right there and primed to be in the midst and in the thick of the New World Order's plans. I came across an article the other day, 2 or so days ago, or was it 3, and my antenna went straight up. This was an article in a certain website. I believe it's bitcoinke.com, but I will leave the link in the description. And so the heading read, "We should and will look at central bank digital currencies," says the governor of the Central Bank of Kenya. So the governor of the Central Bank of Kenya was being interviewed, and in the interview he admitted that cryptocurrencies do have a place in the current world, and how the Central Bank of Kenya might be approaching regulation of those cryptocurrencies in the future. And so this really stood out, because these comments of his are really in stark contrast to his previous position on cryptocurrencies, on digital currencies, because he has really been very critical to this kind of currencies. He has not been open to the acceptance of digital currencies. So all of a sudden he is being open to the Central Bank of Kenya accepting and regulating cryptocurrency. So I thought that was a thing that he is now softening his stand. Nevertheless, with all this talk of cashless society, and I can tell you in Kenya, especially when the COVID-19 pandemic just came out around March, there was all this talk of, hey guys, we need to go cashless. It was really being bombarded on us. But it really did not go the way whatever powers may be had planned out. It has really been slow. And so what the governor of the Central Bank of Kenya was saying is that according to him, the death of cash has been greatly exaggerated. It's not that we are going to a cashless economy. I think we need to go to a less cash economy. Those were his words in that interview featured in bitcoinke.io. Now, what I have discovered, because I like to read the world events regularly, because as followers of Christ, we cannot afford to not watch what is happening in this world, especially in the days that we're living in. Now, the Central Bank of Kenya is not the only one that's becoming overly excited, seems to me all of a sudden, over digital currencies. Just about this month, I don't know whether it was around the 20th of October or something, Bahamas issued a central bank backed digital currency. The Bahamas, according to the article in medianama.com, the Bahamas has launched the world's first central bank backed digital currency, a CBDC, called the Sun Dollar, for its nearly 393,000 residents. And so we find out that the Bank of Canada, the Federal Reserve of the United States, the Bank of England, and the Bank of Japan have respectively announced that they are evaluating the contours of issuing a central bank digital currency, while the European Central Bank is working on launching Digital Euro project sometime in 2021. So friends, being a follower of Christ who is looking critically at biblical prophecy, with all this talk of digital this and digital that, and especially digital currency, I cannot help but have my antenna really going way up when I see that our own country's central bank is talking about the same thing. Because we know, those of us who have read the Bible, we know that when the Antichrist comes, when this man of sin comes, he will cause all to take his mark, and they will not be able to buy or sell unless they have that mark on their hand or on their forehead. I know there are some people who say that this mark is not really a physical mark, it's spiritual. I believe it's both. I believe it is physical. It is like a tattoo, a brand. The way people brand their livestock, the way people brand their cows and their goats to show ownership. I believe this will be the case with this Antichrist, and that's why this mark will be physical, and people will also need to worship this beast. So it will be physical and spiritual as far as I'm concerned, and I believe that's where we're going. China has been at the forefront of these efforts. We are told in this article in WSJ.com that China has been at the forefront of these efforts, this digital currency. In April, Beijing said it would expand its pilot program for a homegrown electronic payment system which shares some features with Bitcoin and other private cryptocurrencies. The article continues that even the Federal Reserve, which has long said it doesn't have plans to launch a digital currency, plans to build and test a hypothetical design. The article states that the pandemic is accelerating a shift away from the use of physical cash in most developed economies, with alternative payment methods or private cryptocurrencies potentially taking its place. The pandemic is accelerating a shift away from the use of physical cash. I think it's just a scapegoat. In Sweden, they have really been pushing this RFID chip. We can see the Swiss people getting this chip, being very excited about the chip, even throwing parties. I think they're called chip parties once they get that chip inserted, which apparently is going to make their lives very convenient and easy. You can open your car door with a chip, you can open the house door with a chip, you can make your payments. That's how the system works. It's always about how easy your life is going to be, how convenient this system is going to make your life. With their technology, their beast technology, how safe you're going to be. It just reminds me of the devil, Satan, and what he told Eve, that, hey, God is just being a wet blanket. He doesn't want you to really enjoy life. He knows that the minute you eat this apple, that you will be like one of the gods. I'm paraphrasing what the devil said, but really what the devil was saying is that your life is going to be way much better, if you take this fruit. And the system that is owned by Satan, empowered by Satan, tells us the same thing, that our lives are going to be very easy and convenient and safe. It's for your safety, it's for your convenience, they say. But they speak with a forked tongue, because they say it's for your safety, they tell us it is for our convenience, but they're just putting us in a net. That's what they do. So central banks are exploring ways to create a digital version of cash, and as we can see, the central bank of our country, the Central Bank of Kenya, is now being open to that possibility. Once you start getting out of this matrix, this world that is full of lies and illusion, you will discover these satanic powers really, they make all these changes, and these changes seem to be very rapid nowadays, all for the good of us. I'm a Bible believer, guys, and for me the Bible is not a book of frivolous fairy tales, but it is a book that is filled with God's encouragement, exhortation, rebuke, and warnings. And the Lord warned us in that book of Revelation that there is a leader that will come. This leader that will be followed by the whole world, a sort of one world leader who the world will look up to, the world will follow, the world will adore, and that beast will be empowered by Satan himself. But thankfully, it will be only for a time. And I strongly believe that this one world leader, this beast, this son of perdition, this man of sin and his mark is right around the corner, and our country seems to be in the thick of things to just kind of bring that about, or be in that basket of the countries that will really be pushing this thing. There's a guy called Aaron Russo. You can look it up. He was an American entertainment businessman. He was a film producer. He was a director. He was also a political activist. And so what did Aaron say? Aaron recounts a discussion that he had between himself and Nicholas Rockefeller. You know that Rockefeller family, one of those elite families, the 1% guys. So he had a discussion with Nicholas Rockefeller 11 months before the attacks of September 11, 2001 in America. And so when he had this conversation with Rockefeller, it appears Rockefeller mentioned how there was going to be an event that was going to occur. And remember, they had this conversation before those attacks of September 11. So this Nick guy was telling him how there was going to be an event that will occur, and how from this event the United States was going to invade Afghanistan, build pipelines to bring oil from the Caspian Sea, that the US was going to invade Iraq to take control of oil in the Middle East and be able to establish themselves there and integrate this region into a new world order. And then they would deal with Chavez, Venezuela, and Iran. And so Aaron says that he remembers this Nick guy telling him that the Americans would be seeing on television soldiers searching caves in search of those responsible in Afghanistan, Pakistan, and in all of those regions. And Nick continued to tell this Aaron gentleman that there would be a war on terrorism where there would be no real enemy. It would all be a hoax. And he continued that there were plans for the future to reduce the world's population and replace paper money with subcutaneous chips where all the person's personal information would be stored. All of this being a roundabout way of controlling what Nicholas Rockefeller referred to as serfs, slaves, when speaking of the world's population. So that was Aaron Russo who had this conversation with Nicholas Rockefeller. You can look it up. It's on YouTube all over the place. You can find those videos there. And when they talk about a war on terrorism, having been told this information in 2011, we can see that war on terrorism all over the place. And this Rockefeller guy, he told Aaron Russo that it would all be a hoax. And, you know, these elite people, these 1%ers, many of them are Luciferians. They are empowered by Satan himself. Satan being the father of lies. He is such a good father of lies that his lies are so thick, the deception is so thick that were it not for God and his power, many of us will not be able to see right through the many deceptions that the devil is coming up with. But thanks be to the Holy Spirit, our eyes are open and he leads us into all truth. According to this lady, Vera Alda, she wrote a book called The Divine Plan, and she was talking about a cashless society. According to her, currency will be obsolete as a new system is implemented. She states in her book, economics will be founded on a quite different basis from that of the present capitalistic system. A system of exchange between peoples of goods and services will, when intelligently developed, gradually cancel out the need for buying and selling with money. That's according to that lady. Now, echoing Alda, Lucis Trust founder Alice Bailey, in her book Externalization of the Hierarchy, remember I made a video where, you know, Alice Bailey was talking about how their Christ, their soon to come Christ is going to come, and all, you know, the solution is going to bring about. So feel free to watch that video. So in her book Externalization of the Hierarchy, Alice talks of a great world leader to come. This leader will have authority over the world's money and finances, and therefore the euphemism, the adjuster of finances, is used to describe him. And so in this book, Alice states that national currencies will have been largely superseded, not only by a system of barter, but by a universal monetary exchange. What is this universal monetary exchange that the powers that be are going to bring about? Could it be these digital currencies that all of a sudden the central banks all over the world are so excited about, including the Central Bank of Kenya? In 2 Corinthians 4 verse 4, we are told we are told that Satan is the god of this world, and he is working hand in hand with his minions spread out all over the earth to bring about the reign of the Antichrist. We have been told in the Bible that this man will come, this man of sin, this son of perdition, who will require or cause all to worship him and take his mark, or death. There will only be two options. Although I believe, the Lord will always make a way, maybe to hide some of his people, whatever the Lord decides. But it's pretty much worship him or get your head cut off. But the Lord has prepared us many years, and I pray that even in Kenya, that we will begin to be more alert to the plans of the enemy, that we will be watchful, that we will listen as these people in authority speak, knowing the times we're living in, that we will question, that we will not just believe everything we hear, we will not just take it hook, line, and sinker, but that we will be alert and watchful. Stay blessed, guys.